Hello and welcome to assetyogi.com. This is Mukul and in this video I will explain about title search. What it is, why is it important and how the process works. For clear understanding, make sure that you watch the complete video. Let's get started now.
For a common man, a real estate investment is generally the largest investment in his lifetime. So it is important if you are planning to purchase a property that you conduct a thorough title search for that property because you don't want to end up having legal and financial troubles later on. A title search is the process of checking and verifying property documents to determine the legal ownership of the property and identify any defects in the title of the property. Generally, a title search is conducted by a real estate attorney or a professional title search company. And after the attorney or title search company conducts the title search, they produce a report called as abstract of title, which is basically a historical record of the title of that property, how the property has changed hands over a period of time, and whether there are any defects in the title of the property, so that you are sure that you are buying a legitimate property. Generally, a title search is conducted for a period of 30 to 40 years. However, you can conduct for even more years, but this is generally the norm. Now, let us see what all is covered in a title search. First of all, it checks the legal ownership of the property. If the current seller has the clear and marketable ownership rights in the property, then it will also check the complete chain of title right from the first owner of that property up to the last owner. So the attorney will check all the documents over last 30 to 40 years that are related to the property, and he will check whether there were any claims made by any third party. If there were any mortgages pending, banks could have made a claim, or if there were any taxes due, the municipal corporation can have a claim, and if there were any disputes between the relatives or between the seller or a buyer, or if there are any judgments pending against the seller or any previous owner, because sometimes a real estate can also be sold to satisfy the judgment. So a title search determines the legal ownership of the property, not just for the current owner but for the previous owners also. Then a title search also checks for any liens on the property. For example, there can be loans and tax dues on the property, like any pending mortgages or any loans against the property, or whether property taxes are overdue. Then sometimes municipal liens can also be there. For example, if there are any building code violations, sometimes a building may violate certain building regulations, so completion certificate and occupancy certificate are generally not handed over in such a case. So a title search will highlight all these issues also. Then sometimes mechanics lien can be there. For example, if there are any dues pending for the construction contractor or the repair and maintenance contractor, so they will also have a charge on the property. Then the housing society also can have their dues pending, for example maintenance bills or utility bills. Now all these liens don't mean that all these agencies can sell the property, but they have a charge on the property. So whenever the property is sold, they can be paid with the proceeds. Then a title search also highlights any restrictions and allowances on the property. For example, there can be real covenants on the property. For example, you may not be allowed to cover the balcony, or you cannot cover the open spaces, or you can have similar construction rules on the property. Then there can be parking restrictions. Then there can be some smaller restrictions, like pets may not be allowed in some properties, and you may not be allowed to keep flower pots outside your property. Then there can be easements on the property. For example, the owner may have provided right of way to an adjacent plot which is landlocked, and sometimes there can be easements for utilities. So certain portion of a property may be reserved for installation and repair of sewers, water pipelines, electrical cables, etc. So these kind of restrictions and allowances will also be highlighted in the title search. Then sometimes a physical survey is also conducted by the title search company, and they will provide the image of the survey plan, which will show the exact location, dimensions and area of a parcel of land, and they will highlight if there are any encroachments on the property, and they will also check for any easements that are not reflected in the records, and the company will also check for any illegal occupation of the building or the property. So a thorough title search will highlight the legal ownership of the property, and it will also highlight all these defects in the title of the property. Now let's see how a title search can be conducted. You can either conduct the title search yourself, or you can hire a real estate attorney or a professional title search company. And if you hire a professional company or a real estate attorney, they will produce an abstract of title, which will be a summary of historical record of all the title transfers of the property. So during the title search, you have to check the original documents of the property. For example, you have to check the complete chain of title documents, right from the first owner to the last owner, who is the current seller of the property. And you have to check all the sale deeds, conveyance deeds, will or gift deed, through whichever means the titles have transferred over the years. Sometimes it can happen through a foreclosure also, if somebody has taken a mortgage and he has not been able to pay to the bank. So you can check the complete chain of title documents for last 30 to 40 years at least, and you can ask for more also, and all this record will be provided in the abstract of title by the real estate attorney or the title search company if you have hired a third party, or if you are doing it yourself, then you should also check all these documents. Then you should also check mortgage documents. If the owner has taken a loan, in that case he should take NOC from the bank before selling the property. Then in a lot of states or jurisdictions, the government agencies provide a no encumbrance certificate, which states that there are no legal claims or disputes on the property and there are no dues on any government agencies. So if possible, you should get this no encumbrance certificate also, and you should ask the seller to get it if he doesn't have it. Then a proper title search should also bring out any previous judgments, or if there are any pending judgments on the property. For example, if there was a claim or dispute in the past and a judgment has been passed in favor of a previous owner, you should have a copy of that. And if there is a current case going on, then you should know about it, and that should be reflected in the title. Then you should also check the property tax receipts, whether all the taxes are paid up to date, and you should check maintenance receipts also from the housing society, so that you are absolutely sure that there are no tax and maintenance dues. Then you should also ask the seller to get NOC from RWA, stating that there are no dues pending towards the association and that they don't have any problem in transferring the title from the seller to the new buyer. Then after checking all these original documents of the property, you should also get them verified from public records. For instance, agricultural land can be verified by checking the revenue records. Then registration of sale deed and conveyance deed of any residential, commercial or industrial property can be verified by visiting the registrar office. Then you can verify any kind of municipal liens by visiting the municipal corporation office, where you can check whether any taxes are overdue or whether any deficiencies in the construction of the property are there, if the completion certificate or occupancy certificate are not received by the property owner. Then you can check whether any dues are pending with the housing society, and you can ask the Residents Welfare Association if there are any dues pending for a particular property that you are interested in. Now suppose the real estate attorney or title search company conducts a thorough title search and they highlight certain deficiencies in the title report. Then certain deficiencies can be corrected. Let us now see how to deal with a bad title or if there are any clouds on the title. Now certain deficiencies in the title can easily be corrected. For example, you can ask the seller to clear off the liens if there are any mortgage payments overdue, or if there are any property tax dues, or if there are certain municipal liens. For example, completion certificate or occupancy certificate was not given to the seller just because there was a small deficiency in the construction, and if the seller can correct it, then you can easily remove the deficiency in the title. And then if there are any dues to the Residents Welfare Association, the seller can easily clear them off. And if there are any mechanics lien, the seller can pay off the repair and maintenance contractor or the construction contractor. So these kind of payment issues, or which are small deficiencies, can be easily cleared by the seller of the property, and you can remove those deficiencies from the title search. Then sometimes there can be errors in the property documents. For example, if the mortgage is already paid by the owner but it is not reflected in the documents, Or let's say sometimes in the sale deed of a property you will find there are two owners, let's say both of them are relatives, and one relative has already passed on his ownership right to the other owner, but that is not reflected in the property documents. So in such cases you can get help of a real estate attorney and get all these documents corrected, and you can get a clear title. Then once all these deficiencies are corrected, you should also take a no encumbrance certificate from the state or the jurisdiction if that is possible. Then finally, certain deficiencies cannot be corrected easily. So if there are any disputes or third party claims on the property, it is better to avoid such a property. Now in certain cases, even after conducting a thorough title search, there can be certain deficiencies which can be overlooked, or there can be some deficiencies which crop up later on. So how do you deal with such deficiencies? So in such cases you can take a title insurance that will protect you against any defects in the property title. So it will protect you against any kind of defects that were probably overlooked during the title search, or let's say if there is an issue that crops up suddenly. For example, if there is a legal heir of a previous owner and he suddenly claims a title in the property, the title insurance will protect you against such claims. Now, title insurance is not available in certain countries. In that case, you can get an affidavit signed from the seller that he is the absolute owner of the property and there is no security charge, liability or any form of lien and encumbrances on the property, and he will be liable to pay for any damages for any claims or disputes on the property that arise out of his negligence.
Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you want to suggest a topic for future videos, please leave your comments below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do it now so that you don't miss out on our latest informative videos just like this. Subscribe. You really don't want to miss out on our latest real estate and investing hacks that we share every week. Thanks for watching. See you soon.